All right, I'm just trying to let some people come on in, but good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. This is the Minister ML Kimble coming to you live today, and I wanted to come to you guys and give you an update as well as review with you guys our pending legal action involving McNeill Chevrolet, my former employer. Please like, share, comment. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you choose to, you're more than welcome to support our platform by utilizing our company cash tag at donate KNSMIN. Again, I want to thank you all for your support. We now have literally exceeded 38,000 subscribers in under 24 hours. So I do appreciate the views and the support on the channel. It does help to get our word out and share this incident with the public. To bring public awareness. You may be in a position where you're at an employer and you're too afraid to speak up on certain things that may be inappropriate that go on because you don't want to lose your job, which was the case for me. I mean, I worked at this place for 7 years and I quit willingly, voluntarily at my own discretion when I just could not take it anymore. We've got evidence to support all of the things that went on during my tenure as the finance manager. There's plenty of evidence to display and show the differences between African American customers as well as Caucasian customers at this dealership. We have so much evidence, and now we are going to ask the court to grant us judgment in regards to these proceedings because they have made it plain that they have no willingness to want to resolve this matter outside of court. So obviously we're going to continue to do what we can until we get this information out to the public as much as possible until McNeill Chevrolet is held accountable for these serious violations. So again, please like, share, comment. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm going to go ahead and review the drafted complaint, which will be filed in court no later than January 10th, 2025, which will actually detail out everything that we're going to discuss tonight. So I'm just going to pretty much provide the complaint with to you guys today, read it to you directly so you guys know exactly what is being alleged. So that way there won't be any misconstrues about what it is that we are alleging. These are serious allegations, and I can't believe, totally, to be honest with you, that they've just decided to ignore resolving this matter. So we're going to have to take it to the next step. And so that's what this video is about tonight. I'm going to go ahead and review the case against McNeill Chevrolet. Complaint for damages for racial discrimination and harassment. Parties: plaintiff Marquise Kimble, an individual with a domicile in Fulton County, Ohio. That's wrong. That's going to have to be corrected. Residing at 2034 Austin's Bluff Court. Defendant McNeill Chevrolet, a business entity whose principal place of business is located at 220 West Airport Highway, Swanton, Ohio, 43558, and is incorporated and existing under the laws of the state of Ohio. Jury demand endorsed herein. Jurisdiction. Subject matter jurisdiction. This court has subject matter jurisdiction over the claims presented in this complaint pursuant to the laws of the state of Ohio, as the matters in controversy arise under the state statutes and common law governing the claims set forth herein. The claims do not involve any federal statute or treaty and do not require interpretation of federal law. Personal jurisdiction. This court has personal jurisdiction over the parties in this case, as the events giving rise to the claims occurred within Fulton County, Ohio. All actions, conduct, transactions, and injuries alleged herein took place in Fulton County, Ohio, and thus under the Ohio long-arm statute and consistent with the principles of due process, this court can exercise personal jurisdiction over the parties involved. I hope this makes sense to you, because it makes very much sense to me. Marquise Kimble, a dedicated employee with a promising career trajectory, was compelled to abandon his employment due to the persistent and degrading racial discrimination and harassment he faced at the hands of McNeill Chevrolet, LaRich Chevrolet Cadillac, and General Motors Corporation. Despite his loyalty and significant contributions he made to these companies, Oh, trust me. If they pulled the record, they've got the record. They've got the record. I was the best finance manager that McNeill Chevrolet had. In fact, every single month, they had a dealership meeting between 3 dealerships and about 7 or 8 finance managers. And every single month, most of the time, I was the top finance manager. I'm talking about a dealership that sells over 100 cars a month. We sold 65 cars when I was back in the days when I was doing finance at McNeill Chevrolet. Tell me, how does a dealership only selling 65 cars somehow the finance department beats out the dealership that sells 100 cars? You tell me. But that was consistent. I actually won an award for my performance at McNeill's. I won all kinds of different gifts and prizes over the years, but I had to tolerate behavior that was inappropriate, because the reality is, when you're making $138,000 a year, you tell me, when you have a wife and 4 children to support, are you going to really rock that boat? Are you really going to mess with your livelihood? But how long do we have to take stuff and not say anything and just wash it away? These same people gave me information of suspects that could have been responsible for the break-in of our business downtown Swanton, Ohio. And then when I turned the information into the police department, the same dealership, McNeill Chevrolet, said to me, we're hearing through the grapevine that you're looking to file legal action against the Swanton Police Department. If you do that, we're going to have to disassociate ourselves with you. That's because after I left the dealership, I still continued a relationship, so I thought, with my former employer, to where I would stop up there with my wife. We'd stop in and talk to them. Some of them would actually come through our store. So I thought that we actually had a dedicated relationship, and I used that information and gave it to the police department, and they did not even investigate the suspect that I gave them. However, they treated me as a criminal. They treated me as if I was responsible for the break-in of my own business. They falsely accused me with no evidence, wrongfully obtained my fingerprints, wrongfully interrogated me, and then published false allegations throughout the community, completely destroying my personal character, name, and image. That's what they did. I have a completely clean background, never been in trouble in my life. I've served as a minister, I serve as a public official notary, but yet they were able to publish these false allegations without any evidence and drop the investigation the moment I retained legal representation. So the reality of it is, no, we're not going to give up with what happened here. And we're going to continue until we get a jury's decision, because these people, in my opinion, they may have had something to do with the break-in of our business. Not only did this all transpire when I turned that information in, but they also contacted me in 2024 impersonating the same exact Swanton Police Department that mistreated me. And I'm supposed to sit back here like I just was born under a rock yesterday and believe that you didn't have anything to do with the break-in of our business, that nobody in town could find any information from anybody, although the police took an hour to show up to respond to the dispute, the incident that was going on. They were told by our alarm company at 6:32 in the morning. Our store was literally 0.2 miles from the police department, but yet somehow they didn't show up to almost an hour after they were notified, allowing whoever broke in my store the time to do whatever they wanted to do, and then dropped the investigation. I made these complaints to the mayor's office numerous times. I've got evidence of the conversations between me and the mayor, with him promising an additional investigation from an additional law enforcement firm, and it never happened. They dropped the case and they left it without any suspects. While I was at home in bed with my wife, our business was robbed from us twice in this community. And we are not going to stop until we find out who is responsible. And at this point, I cannot trust McNeill's. I don't know what to believe. I thought these people were my friends. I thought they were my family. The evidence is I was none of that to them. All I was a cash cow. And when they had no more use for me anymore, they started messing with my paycheck. Started changing this and changing that. Oh, bring your customers in. I brought 17 African-American people in that dealership, and you know they've only got 6 of them approved for vehicles? 6. 6 of them. Because it was always, you got to sell them this car when they get here. Who cares what they want? Sell them this car. Or they got to have this, this, and this. Or they better have the proof of insurance. They better have a down payment. It was always list of things that had to be done. I was required to make sure that that stuff was in place. But if there was a customer that walked in that dealership that was Caucasian, that bought cars from McNeill's for 30 years and just wanted to come in and sign and take her vehicle, and it was Saturday afternoon and the insurance company was closed, you better believe I would have gotten my neck wringed the next day if I, as the finance manager, told that lady, we cannot sell you a car because we can't verify your insurance. However, every single African-American customer that I brought out to that dealership, I was told, you better make sure you verify everything. You call I don't care if you got to call the insurance agent. All of the things they took me through, and they could not get any of my customers approved. You want to talk to me about racial discrimination? Go look at those car deals. I know I signed them. I'm the finance manager. I know what they taught me to do. And I will guarantee you there's a distinct difference between every single African-American customer that bought a car in the last 10 years from that dealership between them and Caucasian customers. Study it out. Go check it out. Pull a deal audit. Make them show the evidence of the car deals. I promise you, you will be able to support what I'm telling you. I wouldn't just make up something. I'm highly upset that they attempted to contact my wife to sell a vehicle to her, essentially, that they know they took from me. I don't know that General Motors, their bank is GM Financial. And I don't know that you have record for any vehicle that has been repossessed by GM Financial, McNeill's. I still have all that knowledge right upstairs here. So don't play these games like, we didn't know, and no. There's a letter that says Mindy Mason on it, who's the sales manager, addressed to Ebony Arnold, that came to my house after I made complaints with them. Not to mention the several employees visiting my social media platforms, too ignorant to realize that there is a way to track that. I have evidence of people going to my social media pages, watching my pages. And then when I talk to their attorney, they didn't try to contact you. Bullshit. We've got evidence they did. Were you going to just sit here and ignore the evidence that's right in your face that your client, McNeill Chevrolet, committed? What about the birthday card that I showed you guys? What about the comments about Harambe and Toby and the token black guy? You think I'm making this stuff up? I just made it up, huh? What would possess a guy to leave a job where he's making $138,000 a year? You tell me. What would make a person just get up and walk away from $138,000 a year? I wasn't in any trouble. I wasn't disciplined. There wasn't anything on. You can go pull my employee record. They wrote me up one time, and it was because I was pulling my own credit report. I didn't get any other disciplinary actions at that dealership in over 7 years. Not one. I did a damn good job at that dealership, and I made sure I hit my numbers because I had a family to support, and I needed to make sure my family was okay. But I had to take some stuff in order to be able to be comfortable. So when you tell me racism doesn't exist, I will have to call it bullshit because it does exist. It exists in many forms. It's not just the old-fashioned, I'm going to call you a racial slur to your face like they did in the 60s. Now it's let's dress it up and pay you enough money so you can just tolerate it, so you can accept it. And then tell you in the next breath, oh, we're not racist. Oh, we're not racist. But every 5 minutes it's a black joke. It's something about black people. I can remember one time I brought a customer out to this dealership, African-American customer, got him approved on the vehicle. He said the only thing that he wanted was a sunroof. So I go into the sales manager at that time's office and say, hey, he wants the car, but he wants a sunroof. And you know what they all said in that office after he got him approved? He got him approved on that one right there with the bone thrower. Bone thrower? What the heck is a bone thrower? I'm the only black person standing in here, and I'm asking these guys, what is a bone thrower? And you know their response to me was, when black people buy cars, the sunroof is used for them to throw their chicken bones out the window. That was said directly to me, and everybody laughed about it. I didn't just make this up. These are real instances, and we're going to prove it to the courts. Despite his loyalty and significant contributions he made to these companies, Mr. Kimble was subjected to intolerable working conditions that not only threatened his professional life, but also his personal dignity. The defendants were well aware of the discriminatory behaviors permitting their business operations, yet chose to ignore them, thereby exacerbating the situation. This repeated misconduct, highlighted by racist remarks, unfair treatment, and a lack of support in the face of a hate crime against Mr. Kimble's business, underscores a pattern of negligence and malice. Mr. Kimble's forced resignation was not just a personal loss, but a direct result of a hostile work environment that these companies perpetrated despite clear notice of the damaging impact of their actions. General allegations. Plaintiff Marquise L. Kimble Sr. was employed by defendants McNeill Chevrolet, LaRich Chevrolet Cadillac subsidiaries or affiliates of General Motors Corporation, where he was subjected to continuous racial discrimination and harassment during his tenure. Throughout his employment, plaintiff endured constant racist comments and jokes, including being derogatory referred to as Harambe and the token. On multiple occasions, plaintiff's pay agreement was altered. I just told you guys that to a month before I resigned, out of nowhere with no notification, after it was promised to me that it would not happen for me specifically. My pay was cut to where I only saw barely $100 a week to support my family on. And I tolerated that for 6 months. 6 months. Might have been 4 months, 5 months, somewhere in there. So not only I'm getting put up with all of the garbage I have to put up with, you guys promised me a position that you don't tell the sales staff that you gave me. So they're walking around upset because somebody told somebody how much money I was being paid. When they found out that you guys allowed me to still make the same money and not have to work the same hours as them because you guys wanted to keep me at that dealership, they just changed my pay agreement without any notification the day before payday. And because of my loyalty, I took it as long as I could. But imagine trying to support an entire family. At the time, my kids were small. At the time, a wife and 4 children, barely seeing $100 a week. I took it as much as I could because here's the bottom line. I shouldn't have been seeing $100 a week because I brought customers out that should have been able to buy cars. Every time they came out, it was always an issue. Any one of my customers that I brought out there was always an issue. It's almost like they were excited for me to tell them or for them to come and tell me, go, you got to call and get that car back. They wanted to do that for some reason. It was almost like they were happy when any one of my car deals that I brought out there, something happened with the bank. You got to get that car back. Get that car back immediately. And who was on the phone to talk to the customer to get the car back? Me. So I'm trying to explain to you that this is the truth. And we've got the evidence to support it. On multiple occasions, plaintiff's pay agreement was altered without prior notice or consent, adversely affecting his financial stability and career progression. Plaintiff brought a significant number of African-American customers to the dealership, some of which are still going out there today. I've already verified it with a few of them. However, a disproportionately low number of these customers were approved for purchases, 1,000% true, suggesting a pattern of discriminatory business practices affecting plaintiffs' performance metrics and earnings. I told you, authorize a deal audit. Pull the last 15 years of every car deal and look at the differences between African-American car sales and Caucasian car sales. Look at the difference in the interest rates. Look at the difference in what they charge for aftermarket products. There were some Caucasian 30-year customers that came to McNeill's that could get away with buying a warranty for $100 over cost. There were some where, why didn't you bump the warranty $1,000? Most of the time that occurred with customers that I brought out to that dealership. They had a saying, did you take them up top? Did you take them up top? When I left, customers leave my office, did you take them up top? Take them up top means, did you max out that car loan and raise their car payment as high as possible? Yeah, I did so. Yes, sir, boss. Yes, sir, I sure did. And guess what that did? At the end of the day, it shows what we're going to prove in court. So this low number of these customers were approved for purchases, suggesting a pattern of discriminatory business practice affecting plaintiff's performance metrics and earnings. After years of loyal service, plaintiff felt compelled to resign from his position prematurely, because I could have been there for 20 more years, making $100,000 a year if I would have never walked away from the finance position, which I decided to do. Prematurely due to the hostile work environment and the realistic threat of unjust termination. Every single, I tell you right now, every time I made a mistake, I was always threatened by, it was always told to me, you are the highest paid employee at this dealership. I took some, oh my goodness, I took some tongue lashings, not to mention the treatment that I put up with, but I took some tongue lashings over that 7 years to stay in that position. If I made a mistake that barely cost the dealership any money, or even if it did cost the dealership money, what I gained the dealership was way more than what it cost them for the mistake that I might have made. But I was told, you're the highest paid person at this dealership. I was told, you better make sure you get that, bump that warranty. I was beat down if I had a bad month, no matter what it was about. If I didn't hit those numbers, in fact, the week that I lost my grandmother due to her death by cancer, before she had even transitioned, these people told me at some point, you just got to get over it. What do you mean? I thought we were family. You don't know how important Barb Perdue is to me. And that's all you have to say to me when I just lost the most important woman in my life next to my wife? I knew then they didn't care about me. And that's when I made the decision to resign. Prematurely due to the hostile work environment and the realistic threat of unjust termination, thereby forfeiting potential future earnings estimated at $1 million over an additional 8 to 10 years of employment. That's simple math, guys. That's me taking $138,000 and multiplying it by 10. If I worked out there at that dealership still as the finance manager, I would have made at least $1 million in the next 10 years. Bottom line, very simple math. Subsequent to his resignation, plaintiff pursued a business opportunity to secure financial stability, the HCV store, for himself and his family. During this period, defendants engaged in actions that further victimized plaintiff, including impersonating police officers and interfering with legitimate business operations. They contacted me impersonating the same exact Swanton Police Department that did all those wrongful, horrible things to me and my sister. Do you know how frightened I was when I've never been in my life, I've never been into an interrogation room when I was told by the Swanton Police Department that, hey, can you come up here so we can get a statement from you? And then that turned into your sister's going in this room and you're going to stay in this room. And the only thing that was missing was the flashlight, the hot light over our head. And the things that was being said to me, all this officer was doing was trying to get me to wrongfully accuse my sister of a crime, of this crime. And then the other Joe Schmo scam was in the other room doing the same thing to my sister, trying to get her to say that I did it. How could either one of us be responsible for something that you guys were an hour late responding to it? That means I would have had to have had inside information as to what time the police are going to respond. If I knew anything about anything that happened at that store. In fact, I hadn't been in Swanton 2 weeks prior to the break-in of the store. But you take my fingerprints when I show up at my business and tell me it's proper procedure. No, you were taking my fingerprints so you could wrongfully accuse me of committing the crime to justify your negligence and your awful response to it. That's what happened. Defendant's actions included advising plaintiff to report a potential suspect involved in criminal activities against his business. They gave me information about my former landlord, who was the landlord over the HEV's first location, Mike Wells. The exact words McNeill's told me was it would be just like Mike Wells to have some douchebag that rents his apartments to go over there and vandalize that business. Exact words. I said, really? As soon as I get this information, I tell the State Farm, I tell the police, and they don't even question Mike Wells. You know how they questioned him? They asked his wife where he was the morning of the incident. This is the same guy that harassed us every single day that our business was open. Every single day he would drive by our store and lay on his horn on purpose to disrupt our business, to the point where I made a complaint to the police department and they just ignored it. Go figure. So they told me to report a potential suspect, criminal activities against the business, and then subsequently they ignored the advice, which undermined plaintiff's efforts to seek justice and contributed to further financial and reputational damage. Plaintiff and his family were subjected to a hate crime, which involved the robbery, vandalism, and destruction of his business. Despite the gravity of these offenses, defendants failed to offer support or assistance, exacerbating the harm suffered by plaintiff and his family. Plaintiff possesses documentation and recorded audio that captured the racist comments and jokes he was subjected to, which substantiate his claims of racial discrimination and harassment. Defendants' conduct and the cumulative impact of their actions have caused significant pain, suffering, and anguish to plaintiff and his family, necessitating legal action to recover damages and hold defendants accountable. Plaintiff incorporates by reference all other paragraphs in this complaint as though fully set forth herein. Claim: racial discrimination. Plaintiff incorporates all other paragraphs in this complaint by reference as though fully written here. Under Ohio law, a claim for racial discrimination requires the plaintiff to establish that the defendant engaged in discriminatory practices based on race, which adversely affected the plaintiff's terms, conditions, or privileges of employment. Plaintiff Marquise Kimble is an African-American who was employed by McNeill Chevrolet, LaRich Chevrolet Cadillac, and General Motors Corporation. During his employment, plaintiff was subjected to continuous and unwarranted racial comments and jokes, which were derogatory and demeaning towards his race. Specific instances of such discriminatory conduct include, but are not limited to, plaintiff being referred to as Harambe and the token by his co-workers and supervisors. Such comments were not isolated incidents, but were part of a regular pattern and practice of racial jokes and commentary that plaintiff was subject to over the years. The discriminatory conduct was severe and pervasive enough to create a work environment that a reasonable person would consider intimidating, hostile, or abusive. The hostile work environment was known or should have been known by the defendants, yet they failed to take adequate measures to prevent the racial discrimination or to remedy its effects. As a direct and proximate result of the racial discrimination, plaintiffs suffered significant emotional distress, humiliation, anxiety, and other pain and suffering. One morning, I had a sales meeting, and I was going over something with the sales staff regarding the finance office, and then the former used car manager had something to say after I was finished. And as soon as I got off of the board, the first thing he said was, "Oh, man, is that Afro Sheen? Afro Sheen? Are you kidding me, man?" And then, of course, once again, everybody laughed about it. I lost my hair. I was a bald man. But for you to say Afro Sheen and everybody in this room is Caucasian, what are you implying, sir? What are you implying? But because it was made okay with me, because I justified it based upon what they paid me. It's no different than a prostitute going out here and selling her body because somebody gonna give her some dollars. Don't settle for any disregard to your civil rights, your rights that are guaranteed to you by the Constitution, no matter what anybody's paying you. Take it from a person like me. All that money they paid me, they never once came to my defense when I had nobody in that city that stood up and said, "That's not Mr. Kimble. We had him in our finance manager he was our finance manager for 7 years. There's nothing but compliments about him all on YouTube, all on Facebook, all on Google. There's customers that come in here and rant and rave about him. They having a great experience in his office." Where was that conversation, McNeil's? Where was the conversation? We told you to go. We told him that Mike Wells could have been a suspect. Where's that conversation? None of that happened at all. Because at the end of the day, the Swanton Police Department put to the public that I was responsible for the break-in of my own business. And that spread like wildfire all over Swanton. And as soon as McNeill Chevrolet heard that, they cut me off. Everybody stopped talking to me. Everybody stopped taking my calls. All of this happened like clockwork. And I've got evidence of it. The actions of the defendants were willful, malicious, carried out with reckless indifference to the federally protected rights of the plaintiff. Due to the ongoing and unresolved racial discrimination, plaintiff felt compelled to leave his employment prematurely, which resulted in lost wages and benefits, as well as a loss of future earning capacity. This discriminatory practices by defendants not only violated plaintiff's rights under applicable Ohio law, but also underlie a systemic pattern of racial bias that significantly impaired plaintiff's ability to perform his job duties and to advance in his career. Claim for harassment. Plaintiff incorporates all other paragraphs in this complaint by reference as though fully written here. A claim for harassment under Ohio law requires that the plaintiff demonstrate a pattern of offensive, oppressive, or intimidating behavior directed at them by the defendant. Plaintiff alleges that during his employment with defendants, he was subjected to constant racist comments, derogatory nicknames, including being referred to as Harambe and the Token, which were both offensive and humiliating. Plaintiff further alleges that these comments were not isolated incidents, but were a part of a regular pattern of behavior that was known and tolerated by management at the defendant's workplace. Plaintiff contends that the harassment was severe enough to contribute to a hostile work environment, which significantly affected his psychological well-being and forced him to leave his job prematurely to protect his mental health and dignity. Because I had to deal with it on both sides. I would have to go to work and take it, and then I'd have to, all my family and friends saying, "How can you put up with that garbage?" My own grandmother used to tell me, I cringe every time I got to come to that dealership. You just don't know how they talk to me. But I come there because you are my grandson. But I don't ever want to come out there if you're not working. That was my grandmother that said that to me. There was a difference in the treatment of African-American customers at that dealership. You will be able to see it as soon as there's a deal audit, which proves the car deals. Additionally, plaintiff alleges that defendants, by impersonating police officers, further harassed him by advising him to report a potential suspect, Mike Wells, in a crime related to his business, only to disregard their own advice, thereby undermining his efforts to seek justice and adding to his stress and anxiety. Plaintiff asserts that the cumulative effect of these actions by defendants amounted to harassment, causing significant emotional distress and mental anguish, which has had a lasting impact on his personal and professional life. Plaintiff claims that the harassment he experienced was both intentional and negligent, as defendants failed to prevent or remedy the situation, despite having knowledge of the behavior and its effects on plaintiff. The actions of defendants, as described, were oppressive and inflicted with malicious intent to force plaintiff out of his employment and to damage his personal and professional reputation. Demand. Wherefore, plaintiff Marquise Kimble respectfully prays that this court grant judgment in favor of plaintiff on all claims for racial discrimination and harassment, issue a judicial determination of the rights, duties, and obligation of the parties hereto, enjoin defendants from engaging in any further discriminatory practices or harassment, award plaintiff actual damages in an amount to be determined at trial, which exceeds $1 million, reflecting the severe economic, emotional, and reputational harm suffered by plaintiff. Grant plaintiff the maximum economic, non-economic, actual, statutory, emotional, general, punitive, and other damages available under the law. Award plaintiff attorney fees with the appropriate multiplier, plus costs and expenses of litigation. Award such other and further relief as the court deems just and proper. Jury demand. Marquise Kimble hereby demands a jury on all triable matters. So that was the review of the pending legal action involving McNeill Chevrolet. Listen, I really want to thank you all for supporting me. Those of you that shared this information, those of you that have liked the comment, even the subscribers that we've received because of this. It's because of the subscriptions that and all of the support that we get. We're not going to stop until these scams are held accountable. They broke the law and they need to be held accountable. At this point, I feel like, based upon all of the events that transpired, that the entire dealership needs to be investigated from the management to the employees. Court discovery needs to be started. Pull in some testimonies, subpoena some folks, pull some phone records, pull some old emails, take them through exactly what you took me through, where you could not find anything wrong. And instead of that, you acknowledging this guy was nowhere near responsible for this, we are wrong. You made it up that I was without any evidence and destroyed my entire professional career. You will pay for what you did. Please like, share, comment. And again, I ask you, please do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Until next time, be blessed on purpose.
you.